Howdy world, today I'll be doing my brother's gel pedicure. Watch me work. I'm going to start off by cutting off the excess skin he has. He has two big calluses on the side of his big toes and we are going to cut them off with a cuticle nipper. Please do not try this at home. Now there are many other ways you can remove a callus. The safe way would be using a callus remover, which will start to soften the callus because it is an acid. So it will soften it and make it a lot more easy to remove. Another safe way of removing a callus is by using a pumice stone. This is going to shave down or scrape down the size of the callus by moving it back and forth. But because of the size of the callus, it is so big, it is really thick. It needed to be cut down. There's no way we can bring it down as fast and start working on it to get it to a normal size. That is, unless I cut into the callus, which sounds super crazy, but yes, don't try this at home. I'll tell you that again. I am not advocating this at all. This is just something that me and my brother have an agreement that we do. And it's something that I also do to myself because I have these same two calluses, not as big, but they can get big and they can get uncomfortable and they can get very hard and tough. Long story short, it's just a faster way to remove a callus that is big. Now we're going to be using a tool that's similar to a sanding band, and this is going to buff off whatever unevenness and also bring down the size even more of the callus. Next, I'm going to be using a bit, and this bit is going to bring down and give more evenness to that callus area where I cut off a lot of that excess skin. Now the last bit we're going to use on this toe area is going to be a bit that's going to polish everything. It's going to make it a lot more seamless. It's going to fix any unevenness and it's going to leave that area smooth and polished. Now that we're done with the toe area, we're going to move down to the bottom of the foot and we're going to use a bit that's going to sand down the roughness on the bottom of his heels so that it can be just a lot smoother. Thankfully, he doesn't have a lot of calluses or hard areas down there, so we're just using something that's soft and gentle but yet cleaning off that area. Next, I'm going to change the bit to the polishing bit, and that is going to once again just remove and polish that area and make it nice and soft and smooth. And I'm going to do that also around the softer areas around his foot where he doesn't have too much. It's just a little bit rough, so that polishing bit is just going to soften everything. And we're going to work around the edges of his feet so that we can get rid of just the white cast that you get when you have dry skin. Once I finish polishing the bottom of his foot, we're going to spray on some alcohol to disinfect that area. And to avoid that callus from growing so big, we're actually just going to pass a weekly pumice stone on it to keep the size down. And look how clean his foot looks. Next, we're going to start working on the toenails. We're going to use a cuticle pusher to push back on the cuticle. By pushing back gently on the cuticle, which his cuticle, I'm not gonna lie, since it's been over a year and a half since he has done a pedicure, his cuticle is very long. So it is about a 1/4 inch on the nail plate. So it is a lot of cuticle to push back. So I do have to put a little bit of force, but not something where I'm going to like be jamming the nail or damaging the nail. Also, men tend to have a thicker cuticle than women. Not all men, but their body is built differently. Their structure is different. So their cuticle can be a bit more thicker. But there are other factors such as neglecting to moisturize that area, along with environmental factors such as the weather, it being cold, which can contribute to dry and overgrown cuticles. Now, to clean off the nail plate even better, I am going to be using the other side of my tool. One is for pushing back the cuticle, and then one is for scraping the cuticle that is on the nail plate. And the scraper is actually perfect because sometimes we think we've removed all the cuticle, and then once we cut down, there's still more cuticle that is a lot more stuck on the nail plate. So this just helps to clean it and sweep it super clean so that when we go into the process of adding our gel polish, we're going to have our feet prepped properly. That way the adhesion of the gel polish is going to be flawless and last a long time. I like to prep the nail a little bit more by removing the cuticle if necessary. And he does have a lot of cuticle, so we are going to be cutting it. It is thick and it's very satisfying because when you cut it, it comes off like a toenail clipping because its skin is a bit more thicker and because of the time that he hasn't done a pedicure. And usually this will only be the beginning stage. Once he goes in for his next pedicure, we won't have to do so much work. It won't be as excessive. And it's good to do a pedicure every 4 to 6 weeks. This is the typical time frame for dead skin to build up on the feet. And it's also considered a good balance for maintaining healthy feet without overdoing it. There are some key points to consider, such as lifestyle and foot concerns. If you're very active, like you run a lot or you wear high heels frequently, you may need pedicures more often to address calluses. Also, for people who have dry, cracked heels or ingrown toenails, they might benefit more from frequent pedicures. This is not Bible. This is a personal preference. And ultimately, the amount of pedicures you get should be based on your individual needs and how your feet feel. Just cutting off the few bits of skin that I see that's hanging over before I go in with this cuticle bit that you see I'm using here. This is just going to now make sure that the nail plate has no cuticle on it. That way we can just have a smooth area, a clean area to work on when I go in with my gel polish. Just a random, you see this headlamp? This is actually my brother's headlamp that he loves. And I think it's actually ideal when you're doing like hands or feet because it gives a lot more light and it's LED. So it's actually a little game changer, a little hack. If you see one of these LED headlamps, then get one on Amazon or Temu because they are a game changer. And now that we have vanished all the unnecessary cuticle, we're going to go in with shaping the toenails. And this detail here is the one that's going to give the nails that extra oomph, that extra jazz. It's going to show when you are doing a client's nails and you are shaping and framing the nails according to the shape of that person's toenail, whether they have fat, chubby toenails or they have thin or they have one longer toenail than the other. You want to shape according to the shape of their toes or their nails. This is similar to when you're dressing up. Think of it as though you're putting on a wardrobe. You wouldn't put something super slouchy and oversized on a person who's super duper short. You want to complement them with the appropriate clothes or wardrobe. Same goes for the nails. And honestly, this is something that you have to think about. They don't even teach you that. Look at the toe shape. Look if it's stubby, if it's fat, if it's skinny. See if it has a longer toenail so that you don't make the toenails too long, because sometimes people have that middle finger on their toe, which is very long. So if you have long toenails and you keep them long, that one's going to look extra long. So it's just keeping those things in mind, along with seeing, hey, the client says, oh, my toenails chip a lot on the sides. And that'll be your cue to suggest to the client, hey, if you are having a lot of breakage on the side of the toenails, then maybe we can round off those sides or make them a little more square oval. That way they don't break as often. Next, I'm going to buff the nails. This is going to remove any shine or any yellow staining on the nails. Then I'm going to spritz on some alcohol to disinfect, to mattify the nail, along with removing any oils or any debris that is left on the toenail plate. This next step is optional. I think it's just for aesthetics, the way it will look. I asked my client, hey, what do you feel if I remove the little bit of hairs that you have on your toe? Some will say yes, some will say no, but you can just ask. It definitely makes the foot area look a lot more neater and cleaner, but always ask your client first. I go in with my cuticle nipper to just remove whatever little pieces that I see that are just outside, and I'm just like, you gotta go. All right, so our nail is prepped and now it's ready to be polished. We're gonna start with base coat. Please make sure that the nail is matte. If it's not matte, the base coat will not adhere to the nail. It cannot be polished, it cannot be smooth. When applying base coat, you want to start off with a thin layer. It's so important because yes, you can just put your base coat and your top coat, because men usually like no polish or clear polish, so that'll just be your base and your top coat. But some men like color, and if you have to put base coat and 2 coats of color, sometimes 3, and then a top coat, that's going to be very heavy. Also, if you are applying a thick layer of base coat and then a thick layer of top coat, then that also is heavy. So thin layers is the proper way to apply. Another thing is that if you apply these layers too thick, what happens is that depending on the person's toenail, some people have thinner toenails or even normal toenails, what happens is that polish, because at first the nail is stable, but once it starts to grow, that gel polish that has been applied in heavy layers, it's going to put weight on the natural nail, which would then cause the nail to curve or break. Lastly, we're going to nourish everything with some cuticle oil. I spray a little bit of alcohol in there so that it absorbs nicely, and then I rub it into the skin, cuticle, and nail plate. And voila, his feet are done. They are 10 pounds lighter, and his feet look nice, neat, clean, and ready to walk on sunshine. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. It was my pleasure making it and showing love to my brother through a pedicure. See you guys in the next video. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you later. Alrighty, over and out. Ciao, ciao. Show!